At the end of the season, the TrackDay Championship and the Super Cup winners are all invited here to Snetterton Circuit to take on a mini JCW. Each winner will get behind the wheel of a mini JCW with big slicks, three-way adjustable dampers and sequential gearbox. But we managed to catch up with the winners and discuss their successful 2019 campaign. Jack, you're the winner of the Class D series, so tell me about how your season went so far.
Yeah, it went really well actually this year. A lot of challenges, had high expectations after a great season the year before, and got pushed all the way to the end, and it was just a fantastic season all round.
Fantastic. So, and what was the car you were driving?
So we race in the Ford Fiesta Z-Tech S. It's a 2011 car. Previously built to a Ford Fiesta championship spec, and we've just decided to change championships and give it a go up against different style cars.
Fantastic. So every year is a learning year. What was the biggest thing you learned this year?
I think this year I learnt more about the race as a whole, because the championship we're doing, the races are quite unique and different, so it's playing the team game, so we've got pit stops involved and the timing of things that can make a huge impact in a race, which isn't necessarily as big of a factor in a sprint race like a 15-20 minute race.
Fantastic. Okay, so you've been really lucky this year to drive some fantastic circuits. Which one stands out to you?
To me, Zandvoort stands out, where the European round we do, where we pop over to Holland and we get to experience something different. It's a brilliant track, it suits the car really nicely, lots of flowing parts to the track, and it's a great privilege to drive a track that's going to be on the F1 grid next year. Absolutely,
yeah, we're interested to see how that turns out for next year. So what would your nearest rival say about you?
Speaking to my nearest rivals, what they say to my face is that I'm a very clean driver and they enjoy driving alongside me and there's good battles. I think we all have very fair racing, and I would say likewise to them. There's never any hard grudges or anything like that. We leave everything on the track and then we're best of friends offside.
Fantastic, best way to be. But so next year, more plans? What are you deciding to do? Yeah, we're looking into next year at the moment. We're going to have potentially a change of car. To keep the battle to the other drivers. As the performance goes up in other people's cars, we want to bring something else to the table, so we're looking at the same championship again, but maybe a different drive. Okay, any thoughts on what car it could be? There seems to be a lot of other different shaped Fiestas that are out there, yep. And we might try and bring that to the table as well, so that we're in an equal car and then it's just down to the driver, and we know whoever wins on track, it's down to talent. Yeah, absolutely. So with the car then, is that something that makes a bit of a difference then with a slightly newer model, or? It's different cars obviously have different amounts of power. We could keep with our car and invest more in it, or we can go to a different car which other people are already in and is proven. With the way in which the championships run, you're setting classes depending on your power and your weight, and we obviously want to be at the top of our class, and we're not at the moment, so we need to maximise everything we've got basically. No problem at all. Okay, well look, well, best of luck for the rest of next year's season, and enjoy the rest of today as well. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. So Ronan, tell me how the season was for you.
So it's been a great season for us. Our goal at the start of the season was to win the championship. I guess that's anybody's goal, but we really wanted a championship under our belt, and to achieve that, we're ecstatic about it. We had a iffy start to the season with a DNF at Donington due to a hub failure, and we knew from then it was going to be a tricky season. We were going to have to fight back, try and claw back the points. But you know, we got our heads down and we managed to pull it off, so it's brilliant. Good stuff. So when you say we, is that quite a family oriented team? Yeah, definitely. We all pull together, and it's all our hobbies. It's not just my hobby or sport, it's all of ours. And then the people at SuperTune as well, who are supporting me mechanically, we all work well together. Great. So tell us about the car that you drove this year. So I've got a Fiesta ST. It's the 2005 model. Brilliant little cars. They're great on the track. You know, they handle nicely, and they're quite surprisingly fast. You know, on track days you can go against quicker cars, and you see that, you know, if you're driving it properly, you can really get a lot out of it. So I love driving it, and it's a great car to kind of build up your racecraft and that sort of thing in, and so I love it.
Good stuff. So was there any particular circuit that the car kind of adapted to quite well?
Well, the thing is, because it's a controlled tyre in this championship, that always adds a different element to it, because I do find the Fiesta responds very differently to different tyre compounds. So the Dunlops are quite a bit softer, which is what I ran before, so they're quite different to the Toyos. So that's something you kind of have to get used to. But I actually find the tyres we use in the championship are better over the long run of the race. So the trick is kind of just setting up the car to each race circuit, making sure you're making those suspension adjustments. The race that probably stood out to me this year though was at Alton Park in the wet, because I love racing in the wet. It's just so much fun, and because it evens the power out, even though we're a Class D car, you can really mix it with the faster cars, and we got 5th overall in that race, which was an astonishing result, so I loved that.
Great stuff. So as a bit of an expert in the wet then, what's your kind of tips for anyone new coming into the class for next year?
So you've basically got to go everywhere you don't go in the dry to try and find the grip, because the normal dry racing line is probably one of the slippiest parts of the track in the wet. You want to kind of go where the marbles would be in the dry, because there's more grip there, so you're kind of running wide lines around the circuit to carry that speed. I think that's just the biggest tip. It does vary a little bit on different circuits. So at Brands Hatch around Druids, they put a different compound of tarmac on the inside, and it's actually a lot more grippy than the rest of the tarmac, so you can actually use that to your advantage in the wet there as well, and stay on the inside line when normally you would go around the outside. So it's just little tricks like that. It's just experiment is the best thing you can do. If you experiment a bit in practice sessions in the wet, then you'll find your speed that way.
Fantastic. So a bit of a Max Verstappen here then.
Yeah, hopefully.
So what would your nearest competitor say about you and your driving?
I think they'd say I'm determined and that I don't give up. I think that's the thing. You've got to keep an eye on the bigger picture at all times. Even if you do have problems in a race or in one race, then you go into the next one. You've just got to keep your eye on the long game, and it's not all about that first lap. You've got to make sure you're good over the whole race. And I think that's one thing that's shined through this season is consistency in my driving. But it's been a good season, and Class D has been very competitive, which is nice. I think for quite a few of the races it was the biggest class entry, so it's been brilliant.
Great stuff. So same car, same championship for next year?
We're not completely sure what we're doing next year. We may swap to Class B. We're not sure yet. We're kind of going to view all our options over the winter and see what's what. It'll be great to test this Mini today, get an experience of an even faster car. So
absolutely, yeah.
We'll see what we get out of that.
Good stuff. Well, look, best of luck for next year, and see if we'll be interviewing you again.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Talk us through your season.
Well, the season was a surprise, really. It was an invitation to drive a car for Neil Foster at Foz Motorsport, and we came up here for early season testing, and I was just going to be in a road car, converted road car, and Neil at the last minute decided that he felt more comfortable with the road car and put me in his cup car, his old cup car, which was really exciting. Never driven anything like that before, and it went from there really. First time out, it seemed to be competitive, and just worked on it through the season.
Good stuff. So you drove the Clio then. So how did you find that?
It was a real struggle to start with, because all my driving experience has been rear-wheel drive cars. So adapting to a purpose-built race car and being front-wheel drive was a learning curve. So I got some good tuition along the way. Had Bradley Burns to step into the car a couple of times, and we went from there.
Fantastic. So you got any tips for anyone that's going from a rear-wheel drive to a front-wheel drive car?
Yes, don't overdrive it.
Right.
That was the number one thing that was holding me back. The harder I tried, the slower I went, and basically it was like sort of unzip that lot, throw it away, and reprogram, and start again. So that would be the advice I gave anyone. Would give anyone. Yeah, I just tried too hard, and the harder I tried, the slower I went. So yeah.
Okay, so this year you had a lot of exciting circuits to go and drive. Were any of those new for you?
Yeah, Brands Hatch GP was new, which was great to drive there and have a win there as well. It was fantastic. So thank you to Silverstone for cancelling our round on that one. And then Zandvoort was new as well, and I think it's got to be my new all-time favourite track.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It is a great circuit, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing, yeah. So I hope with the modifications they do for Formula One, they don't take the fun away from it, because from what I can understand, they're going to be doing a lot of banking and things like that.
Yeah, interesting. To see what happens and perhaps to return for next year. But so money aside, if you could race with any car in this series, what would you take?
In the series, if I had any chance of any car, I'd probably ask for a TCR car and go in the open class.
What's kind of exciting about that?
I don't know, because I've never driven one. I've got very close to driving one, but I just think it seems to be sort of the pinnacle of touring car in this country, and I think more exciting than actually BTC, because it's actually based on the car. Whereas a lot of those are sort of space frames, the same engine, same gearboxes, and a sort of a different body shell. So yeah, I'd probably look for a Honda, or I think the latest, the greatest in that series are the Hyundais.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So what would your nearest competitor say about your driving this year?
Well, honestly, I think he probably would tell me off. We had a fantastic series. We had incredibly close racing. I think that the only time we ever got to touch was on the last corner at Alton Park in the wet, because neither of us had control at that stage. We were both trying for the line. We raced with our wind mirrors inside each other at Donington and other places, but at the end of the season we had contact more than once, which was really, really disappointing. So it took the shine off it, really.
Yeah, well, unfortunately these things do happen, but what would you say has been your most exciting race this season?
Most exciting race? Wow, they've all been exciting. I think Alton in the wet was a real eye-opener. And then the second most exciting, probably, I love Donington. I was disappointed we didn't get to Donington GP, but the other one is Zandvoort, because it was such a new track, and it's got the elevation changes and the braking, the blind crests, and it was a really exciting track.
Good stuff. So what are the plans for next year?
Next year the plans are to return to the series, because I think it's a fantastic series. The highlight of the series for me is that we have the pit window, because if you're not always in the top class and you're not the fastest driver and all the rest of it, it can be a bit demoralising watching everyone disappearing down the road around the corner. So having that mishmash, whereas you all come in and you swap, and some people get it wrong, some people get it right, and it creates races within races. And I think also from a spectator's point of view, that's really interesting as well.
Good stuff. Okay, well look, best of luck for next year. So you won the Super Cup Class B championship this year. Tell us more about it.
My first delvings into a proper championship with a proper scoring system as such. Not originally the class we were hoping to run in, but it was what it was at the beginning of the year, and it turned out to be really, really good for us.
So it's a new championship this year.
For us, yeah.
Was there a lot of learning to be had there?
Yeah, there was. There was a lot of on-track battles, which was a bit different to how we ran last year. Learned a lot, adapted to the car a lot, had aero and brakes to contend with, learn how to use.
Okay, so you had the M3 then. That's what you decided to go for. Why did you choose that car?
We actually had it as a track car previously. Saved kind of buying a new one to kind of cannibalise. We thought we'd make use of what we had.
Yeah. Okay. So you had quite a few variant cars that are out on track that you competed against. Did you find the M3 was the all-rounder, or is there a better?
It's generally pretty good on majority of the circuits. There's a few that would favour a front-wheel drive, I would have said.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, it's pretty good for doing most of the tasks.
Fantastic.
Pretty well.
Okay. So was there any circuit that you enjoyed most this year? Because you've had quite a few to choose from.
Yeah. I think Zandvoort was an eye-opener for me. That was certainly different. Not driven anything really quite like that. It's just a nice experience to go somewhere else and try something a bit different. That's the favourite one from the year.
Was there any particular corner that you enjoyed the most at Zandvoort?
So the last one was quite satisfying when you got it right. The long straight to go down afterwards, it's good fun when you got it right.
Yep, absolutely. So if you could, I mean, obviously you had the BMW M3 to choose from straight away. If money was no object and next year you can compete in something else, what would you choose?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'm quite enjoying the car I'm in currently. I've not really thought much outside of that at the minute. There's so much scope with it, with what we can do with it.
Yeah.
I've not really thought of outside of that really. Something rear-wheel drive I probably would have said.
Yeah.
Just because of what I'm used to, but
yeah.
I'm open to anything really.
Well, it sounds like the right car that's certainly suiting your style.
Yeah, it seems to be working.
So what advice would you give to anyone else coming into the championship for next year?
Honestly, I don't really know. I'm still fairly new to the game myself. Consistency is key, I think, is the best thing.
Yeah.
Without that, points will fluctuate. Overall championship standings could be hindered, I suppose. But
yeah,
generally speaking, you keep your head screwed on and be consistent and just play fair. I suppose it'll all go well.
Fantastic. Okay, so same car, same championship for next year?
Believe so. Yes.
Won Class B in the TrackDay Trophy Championship. Talk us through your season.
Well, it's been a bit of a mixed bag really. So we had first race of the season at Donington, fantastic, couldn't have gone any better. So we had a P3 qualifying and then I'm sat there on the grid thinking, right, I know that these two guys in front of me are quicker over one lap, so the only way to win it was to get in front. So I thought, right, first corner, first lap, let's try and win the race there, which Stuart does tell us every time that it's not won on the first lap, but when you're in a slower car, you've got to give it a go. So just drove around the outside of the two guys in front and just held that position all the way through the race. So that was like a fairy tale start to the season. And then we jumped into the trophy race straight after in the same car, and I tried doing the same thing from third again, and it all went a bit wrong and somebody T-boned me. So the car really should have been a bit of a write-off, but we only had 3 weeks to get it ready for Snetterton, so we made the decision to repaired it, came to Snetterton. Weather was as bright and sunny as this, a little bit warmer, and we had just a terrible time. The car was understeering all over the place. We found problems with the setup of the car at the end after the race, but we'd have rather found them before, because we ended up P15 I think, finished with a coolant leak, so the engine was toast by the end of that. So we'd done a full rebuild of the car, then it was a full rebuild of the engine for the next race, which was Ulton Park, and that was the first time I'd ever raced in the wet. So I've done track days in the wet, but generally on a track day we've got wet tyres, so we'll stick the wet tyres on there and you can have a lot of fun. Toyota 888s on a wet track, a little bit sketchy, but everybody's in the same boat, so which you needed a boat. I think that would have been probably a better vehicle.
So talking of the vehicle then, so you're driving a diesel, is that
right?
Yeah,
so it's the only diesel in the TrackDay Championship, so it's a 1.9 Ibiza. So started out as a 100 horsepower diesel, and we've done various little bits and pieces. So that's what we do as a company. So we tune cars, anything from standard road cars, just having a remap, all the way up to race car builds, drag car builds, track cars, all that sort of stuff. So this is sort of like a showcase of what a diesel car can do on the track. And other than the coolant issue that we had at Snetterton, the engine's been reliable all the way through the season. I think the engine that were in that before had done 6,000 miles on the track, so we just oil changes, oil and filter, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So when you say about we as well, is that your brother Ryan?
Yeah, so in the championship this year we decided that I would just concentrate on the driving for that. So when I say we, it's us as the team. So because like in any motorsport, it's not just an individual person, I just go out and do the driving. That's 30-minute qualifying, 45 minutes of a very large sort of amount of time that gets spent on preparing the car, taking the car to the testing, and then obviously preparing it for the races. So we've got a team of guys back at the workshop who do a fantastic job getting the car ready for us. And then basically it's just up to me then to do the bit on the race weekends, which luckily this year we've managed to do and proud. So it's been good.
So as the driver then, what circuit has kind of stood out to you this year?
I would say probably Brands Hatch GP. So that's, even though that's probably, I think that was my worst result after Snetterton, so I got 4th there, pretty close to a podium, but it's just one of those circuits that you don't get to go on often, but when you do, it's just such a fantastic track. So you've got the technical parts of the Indy circuit, but then you've got all the nice fast flowing, and it's just a really nice circuit, and it's nice to get on there. So yeah, that's probably, and then I would say Zandvoort as well, because that was completely alien. You know, we did what, 45 minutes of testing the day before, and then straight into the qualifying and race, and we had a really good result there, P3, and that track's just fantastic as well. But yeah, I think Brands Hatch GP for me, certainly a lot closer than Zandvoort as well. So
good stuff, good to hear. So next year then, would you try and keep the same car? Same championship?
No, so we've already sorted out, my friend Michael, he's going to be driving the Ibiza next year, which we'd already agreed the price of the car before it were a championship winning car, so maybe I need to revise the price of the car. But so he's going to be racing some of the rounds of the TrackDay Championship next year. He's still at university, so there's some calendar clashes with that, so he's not going to be able to do the full season. But we've built a Mark V Golf, so that's a 2-litre diesel, and yeah, that's going to be fantastic. So we tested that at the end of the season in the Super Cup race and the trophy race, so that did 2 races back to back, and that the car were only finished on the Monday, and then we were racing it on the Saturday, and it was just faultless and feels so much nicer to drive than the Ibiza. The Ibiza are always on the raggedy edge, so you know, to get the lap time from that, you're pushing hard, whereas the Golf, you can sort of dial it back to 95% and still be putting the good lap times in there, and you've got that extra margin then when you need to push, so it's pretty good.
Good stuff. Well, look, well, best of luck with that, and enjoy the Mini later today, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, what a season these racers have had, and we wish them all the best with their campaigns in 2020. Make sure you stay tuned for all the latest track and test days with motorsportdays.com.